Okay, so thank you for joining me today, Gary. I've got Mr. Gary Telfer from the UK, an athlete and a coach, and also a sports therapist. So I've known Gary for about 5 years now, and you were the person who first gave me a chance to start working as a mental skills coach with athletes. So I'm really glad that you've taken the time just to come on here, just to answer some questions while we're struggling with this new normal that we find ourselves in. And just to basically ask you, get some tips on how you're keeping your mental fitness up and see what we can share with others out there. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first question, Gary, is are there any positives from this new normal that we find ourselves in?
I would have to say yes, because if I take it from my own experience, it means now that you have to spend a little bit more time with yourself, have to work out what it is you really are truly trying to achieve. If you take it from the coaching perspective, even work perspective, what is it you really trying to truly achieve in your life as a whole? Uncertainty is a big thing. Is something that again forces us into a corner where we have to sit down and sort of like think about who we are, what we are. But also at the same time, it's a very, 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 I think, a really, really good thing, because I think some of us need to stop and take some time out. And if anything, just catch ourselves and work out what we are really truly about.
Yeah.
So in my sense, there's a huge amount of positives. If I put it to, they say, work-wise, it allowed me to do a bit of planning and take stock of this type of situation and what would I do if it was to happen again. As far as coaching's concerned, it's allowed me to spend a little bit more time on the soft skills and actually individually spend a bit more time with each of my athletes and work out exactly how I can refine their actual programs and try and make them just better athletes. As far as my colleagues, my coaches, coaching colleagues, it's allowed us to do a little bit more planning. It's allowed us to come up with new ideas. Once we're out again, we'll be able to actually implement, and hopefully what should come out of that should be even better athletes again, or better people, young people at that as well. So yeah, loads of positives.
Well, it's good to hear that there's positive there, and I like the point you meant about just having time to do some self-reflection, because we always have that huge to-do list, and you're just constantly trying to, meet that deadline. And now it's like everyone's shut down, so it's really that time where you can really ask those questions: what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And where are you going?
Exactly.
Good to hear that there are some positives. So this leads me into my next question. I was going to ask you: do you have any advice for how to avoid the pitfalls that can come up caused by this isolation?
Well, it's going to be sort of like starting from the top. It's always going to be about doing a list of, what I've done is done a list of what I would normally do throughout my whole week, and then looking at what are the things that I can actually do from home normally. And one of the big ones, of course, is going to be admin. It's going to be your life admin. It's going to be your work admin, and the things, tidy up the things that you just gently push to the corner of the room and never really want to actually pull out and tidy up. So it gives you a chance to do that. As far as what I'm saying about the week, there's a lot of things in your week that would usually involve you sort of like getting involved with people, meeting people, doing work with people. One of the things that I've done is that my client list, which you don't get to see now, I now give them all a call, a little how are you doing, how's life going, just basically touch base and just do that social interaction. Same with my athletes as well. In regards to work admin, so I need to tidy up my all of my normal day-to-day paperwork, and then possibly make it just that little bit more efficient. Or gives me a chance to think of new workflows and new ways of doing stuff. So it's more about trying to keep yourself busy. That word, trying to keep yourself busy, but not overly busy, because then what then happens when you run out of stuff once you've done everything. So what I'm trying to do is to spread things out, slow things down, take a little bit more time and do one thing a day rather than trying to do 4 or 5 things a day, and just basically spread things out over the week, and then hopefully over the month, if it's going to be a month, and then just give myself targets as well, based on what I planned out, and then work to those particular targets. But once again, a slowed down version rather than the sped up version that we do on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. So you start with the list that you'd normally do and see what can you do off that list. I like the fact that you're still having targets in there just to keep you motivated. But I do like the point you raised in there. It's not just carry on with the go pace of before. It's actually still slow it down. I mean, in your case, you're trying to pace out the work so that you don't run out.
Don't run out. don't run out. Don't lose everything.
Yeah.
Progress.
Nothing else to do. But it ties in with that self-reflection. I think what I'm hearing from you, self-reflection and staying busy, but staying busy for the right reasons, not just to keep yourself busy and go.
Yeah, exactly that.
You mentioned also like reaching out to your client base. I suppose, that's another of the positives where you get to connect to people where you haven't probably spoken to them for a while. What are you finding?
I haven't spoken to them in depth, possibly not spoken to them in depth. Once you're, say, for instance, if you're sitting down in a room with them, or you're working with them in a room, you're doing your normal soft skills with them. But in this climate whereby everybody's in a whole new world where something's being forced on them, you're working with a slightly different person, you're working with a slightly different client. So having taken the time out to ask how they truly are, because you can't physically, I can't physically touch them, but to ask how they truly are at this point in time is hugely important. And you can just basically follow up, or possibly find out little things that you may not have picked up on that may help with your relationship with them in the subsequent weeks.
Yeah, I like that point you just mentioned about you're dealing with a different client because we are in a new environment, so their challenges have completely changed. So it's definitely something I'm going to try and keep on board, just to tune into the soft skills more, to pick up things that you might not have picked up before that are now there caused by this situation.
Yeah. Self-reflection, is an important thing. But then also at the same time, giving yourself, not beating up on yourself, giving yourself that space to recognize that you can't be everything. You can't be everything to all men. So allowing yourself that little bit of failure, so that you can say, okay, how can I improve upon that? Because there's lots of stuff that we can all improve upon, and there's lots of things I think will come out of this that a lot of us might not have recognized in the first instance. One of them is going to be exercise. Everybody's on the exercise tip. Stay fully energized. Exercise is the main thing. Now, my thing is that I think a lot of us will be great prisoners, because everybody right now is all locked down and just working their absolute little butts off to be as fit as they possibly can actually be. So I think a lot of us can be great prisoners, you know. So it's not a hugely bad thing, you know. But I just think that you should just basically keep doing those little things. Keep finding little things to actually keep yourself busy. You know, new things, hugely important. New things. You know, crochet. Go crochet, I reckon. You know, that might be the next one. Crochet.
Take up crochet.
You know. They don't take up that bass guitar, take up the crochet, I say, you know, and enjoy that one. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go. So my next question is, what has been your biggest challenge in this period from the fallout?
I don't think that, honestly, I don't think there is, challenge is too strong a word. I think we don't truly recognize, we don't recognize our capacity to be able to cope with stress. You know, this, in truth, that what are the things that we really have to truly worry about at this particular point in time. If you have a house, you have to worry about your mortgage, you have to worry about food, you have to worry about the children if you have dependents and such. But each of those put into their correct box are all manageable stresses, and in most instances, we've not had a chance to spend time inside for an extended period. So right now, as I wouldn't call it an actual challenge, I'd call it a chance to, as before, reflect, basically work out who you are, do the things that you weren't able to do. Going forward, say if we're at 3 weeks, then I would say we're starting to actually come up against an actual challenge, and that's going to be the dreaded word boredom. But that also can be managed by taking up, as I said, doing something new, finding. Spending time with when you're sitting down with one of your loved ones, and basically going through things that you may not have done before. Like we played Monopoly not too long ago, and that game is destined to cause grief. But you know, doing planning out those moments, because none of us that are books sit down with a book, you know, do the things that we should keep saying to ourselves we should be doing. We promise ourselves we're going to do, but we never do. You know, there should be enough there for us to keep us entertained for those 3 weeks. You're only bored if you allow yourself to become bored. You're only challenged if you allow yourself to become challenged. You know, so for me, it's again going to come down to that planning scenario. I don't think any of us at this point in time are going to be in a scenario where we're locked down for more than 2 months, 3 months, and we have people that are locked up for a lot longer periods than that. So I think we should be able to cope with the scenario, not create a mountain that truly isn't there at this particular point in time. I think we should really start to think, how can we basically stop ourselves from becoming challenged? And that will come from just basic planning, coming down to basic planning, doing the things that we would normally do in our day-to-day lives, in day-to-day workflow, which is see the problem, plan for problems, see the problem, plan for the problem, and execute the plan. You know, so again, going back to the first one, go over my week, work out what's there, and basically plan for it, extend, open it out, and do try and do one thing a day, one thing every 2-3 days, and work that way. To be able to get through, we should be able to get through this with a clear head. And if anything, we should come out of it um, a better person, just for the fact that we've had time to slow down. So I personally don't think it's a challenge. I think it's a positive. If it's going to be a challenge, it's a positive challenge. You know, it's a positive challenge that hopefully shall open some positive doors rather than negative doors. You know, so for me, I don't see the change. I see the positives from it.
I mean, I absolutely love, the way you framed this, in that it's something that we've never had before. We've had all this time on our hands, and actually, if you, like you said, the mortgage, the food, and all the other stuff, but I feel everyone's in the same boat, and it's, if you kind of look at your actual, if you're healthy, still got a roof over your head, then you actually have time to do things that you've never done before. And as long as you're creative, and I know, since I've been working, there's loads of stuff where I really want to do this, I want to learn that, but you always kind of put it to the side. And now it's like, it's the first time you have no excuse to put it to the side. And like I think you said as well, planning ahead. So if you actually plan for like these joy moments or these happy moments, then there's no reason to be bored. But I do like the point in that we don't know how long this is going to go at the moment. It's still good, but in 3 months' time, we'll circle back and see how we feel.
My biggest concern is that we're so caught up in this moment that we just don't take that time out to step back and just take on what's happening in and around us, and enjoy what's close to us. Again, we can't go out, but if you've got a garden, spending a little time in the garden. If you've got a balcony, spending a little time on the balcony. If you are a night worker, actually spend some time out in the light fueled person that's always working during the day, spending some time out in the day, because you've got time to basically play with, and seeing different things and different scenarios, creating your own different scenarios and seeing what goes on, just doing things slightly differently, we've got a chance to play around and still be able to recover and still be able to get back onto a normal time, so it's about just planning what you want to do, doing the things that we don't normally do, and seeing what comes out of it. If we do the right things, who knows? We might pick up at that will continue and carry on throughout the rest of our lives. So I don't see a challenge. I see a chance to actually expand ourselves, make ourselves slightly more better people.
I love that expand ourselves. Yeah. So we really take this opportunity to enjoy this moment, and we can come out of this stronger, come out of this with skills for the rest of our life.
Exactly that.
Okay, I'm gonna move to the next question. So I'm going to ask you about, so obviously you're a coach and you're not able to run your normal sessions where you can meet people face to face. So how are you in this situation still guiding people, and what are you finding has worked and what hasn't worked so well? When it first happened, I was planning for it about a week before as to how I could affect the actual group without affecting what was going on, how I could actually affect them and how I could keep the sessions ticking over remotely. So what I've done because there's about 3 groups that I basically coach, and there's a young group which is made up of about 15 youngsters, which is average age of 14 years old, and we've been working with them for the last 5 months, and we've got up to a stage where we want them to actually think about their warm-up. So what I've done is I've set them a question to see what the responses would be. And the question was basically,
you are in a semi-final of the Olympics. How would you warm up for that actual semi-final? And it would be from the time you leave your room, what would you do to the time that you actually were called up for your actual race? And what they needed to do was write out, plan out, send to me, and then we sit down and we discuss over a medium like this. And we've just literally just finished it today, and the response back from that has been fantastic. It's given us a chance to do one-to-ones with them. It's given us a chance to do a catch up with them and their parents. It's allowed us to explore them as characters, find out what their weaknesses are, find out what their actual strengths are, see what their actual goals are for the future, see what events they want to actually truly want to do. It's allowed, it's given us a new perspective on each of the characters within the actual group. So by just tweaking sessions themselves, because they're still doing sessions, and they do sessions via a WhatsApp group that we've set up, and we put sessions on that they need to do, and plan them out whereby we've started to set them up from going from one session a day to 2 sessions a day, and letting them basically plan out how they're going to actually do the day. So how it's changed things is that it's allowed each of the coaches to be able to remotely sit down with them and get used to using this type of medium, and let them plan their day up, but with us giving them the actual sessions themselves. What we're planning to do in the next week or so is to do video calls where they're doing the actual session. We'll just sit there and watch them do a session to give them little tidbits as to what we think they should do. We're using recordings of their actual sessions and then talking through their sessions with them. Then the last thing that I've got planned for them is for them to write a session, and for the rest of the group to do a group session based upon that actual session itself. So we're going from us basically setting them a question, giving them a particular scenario, to at the end of it, them giving us a session that they think would work for them, and then picking the best one, and then or the whole group basically doing it. So we're still pulling the group together by actually getting a certain amount of interaction from the group as a whole. And then also trying to work out what's the best things for them, who they are, and also at the same time, what's the things that we can give them to allow them to be able to improve as athletes. So that interaction's still there, and that group mentality is still there. It's just that the sessions are slightly different. What we expect at the end of it, when we do get back on the track, I'm hoping that we've got people that can communicate with us on different levels, different times, and also understand us. The distance between coach and athlete is closed, and closed here, rather than it taking years to do. I'm hoping that these couple of months have actually brought us together just that little bit more, so that we can then interact as a team rather than coach and athlete.
Thank God for technology. I really think
tell me about it.
Now we can do so much more, and I think a lot of times where people thought you can't do this, you can't do that, this actual lockdown has forced you to actually be creative and realize you can actually run, as in your case, run sessions remotely, speak with the parents, so it's really good to see a lot of positives coming out of this. I mean, one of the questions I also asked was, has there been any challenges that you've seen as well from trying to coach on these new platforms so far?
Well, based on all what I've said before, me and challenges there. I like to think there isn't a challenge. I like to think that there's a way. and it's just a hurdle to allow me to improve myself, and hopefully affect the actual person that I'm actually coaching. But to answer the question directly, yes, of course there is the challenge of how to actually set the session so that the person can actually understand, because you're not there. So there's got a lot of them finding out what you're trying to basically get across, and of course there's going to be mistakes made on their end, and then there might be mistakes being made on my end, simply because I might be dosing them wrong. I might be giving them the wrong exercises. There might be a lack of understanding from their part. Those things are the things that are basically are going to be the challenge for me right now. Is how do I actually manage and monitor those particular areas. So hopefully going forward, with the numbers that I've given them as far as repetitions, times and such, and exercises, that we can sit down again and then go over them and go through them with discussions as to how it affected them. What do they feel like? How did they respond to the particular exercises they've been given? And then hopefully from that we should be able to come up with we should be able to solve the particular challenges that are being put in front of me with the separation.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is something I think, from what I heard from what you said, is like the challenge is actually giving it in a way that they can take it and run with. And I think we always talk about giving them ownership. So I think they'll build their ownership and accountability and being able to work it out for themselves. So again, I think this is a positive challenge from what you were saying.
Yeah, and that's the big thing is that as you know, I keep saying it's about, I've got to, the umbilical cord needs to sort of like be cut, and that ownership has to come about, because it's too often it's very easy to get so involved, so engrossed in what you're trying to get them to achieve, that you forget that they've got to learn themselves and they've got to grow themselves. So in the sense, this is good because it allows that natural cutting of the actual cord, and then seeing what the response is and seeing how they actually grow. And trusting in what you're actually putting in front of them is the right thing, you know. So it's good for them, and it's good for myself, you know. And I'm sure it's going to be good for quite a few coaches, and if it's looked at in the right way, you're more than likely find that there's a lot better coaches will come from this than went in. So again, I see it as a positive rather than a negative.
I like that answer. Okay, two questions I'm gonna ask before we finish off. So for all the listeners out there, what would you say is the most critical thing people need to work on to help maintain their mental fitness as we're going through this period?
To talk, sit down, self-analyze, and that would be to go through, if you're a coach, go through your sessions, and sit down with somebody, say like yourself, and see where you truly are with your sessions, to spend time and work out what your actual true direction is, and plan, and plan for the worst scenario, and from that, it's a good thing should actually come, because it's at the end of the day, a plan is a plan. Execution is always going to be key, and there's always going to be things like this that are going to basically crop up. You know, and even in small scenarios where you go to events, you plan for the greatest, you have the greatest lead up, and then something small happens that you have no control over. How do you actually deal with that, and how do you actually take that forward? You know, but for me, it is truly just about going with your plan and sitting down with somebody and talking to somebody outside of your uh, workflow, should we call it, because it should be applied. I think it should be applied to all walks of life. You know, just to see that, just to bounce ideas off, make sure you're all in the right, just make sure you're in the right place, and then see what comes back. You know, and then from that, it should make you just that much better person. You know, and it should allow you to grow as well, because there'll be things that you will, you know, whether you will miss, but to take time out, have self-analyze as well as be analyzed, you will, it will make you a better person as well as a better
I like that answer. I think
manager, and work with people and manage things.
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I think this is because people always talk about, you know, social media not being good, and I have to say what I've definitely found in line with your answers, that talking has been really important during this period, and social media apps is really easy to stay connected, especially with people you haven't spoken to in a while. And
Yeah.
actually speaking to people you haven't spoken to in a while, it just gives you a different perspective on your thinking, and helps you see an angle that you didn't see before, and helps with that reflection to give you, put you on the right track, I think, and give you a purpose.
Yeah, exactly, and the other thing is as far as growth is concerned, is making sure that you never settle for what's in front of you at this particular point in time. You know, that you're always striving and looking to go just that little bit further, and always the ways that you're going to do that is by analysis. You know, by also just once again by sitting down with somebody and basically seeing what comes out of those discussions, you know, and then from that acting on what basically comes out of those discussions, you know, as we've done.
Okay, and last question is, what's the one thing that you want to share with the world right now? So everyone out there.
I would say hope. Hope that things will get better.
Go back to normal.
No, there'd be no such thing as a normal. No, there's just that, you know, that it's that this isn't a challenge. You know, that this is a moment in time that will allow people to improve themselves, and self-improvement has got to be key. And if we can embrace this moment and use it positively, that you will basically find that life will just get that much richer at the other end of this. Yeah.
Okay, I love that. Thank you very much, Gary. Thank you for giving us your time and sharing those tips for everyone.
Welcome, Sonny. You're very welcome, Sonny. It's been a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I hope that's helpful to all of those people out there.
I'm sure it will be. All right. Take care.
All right. No problem. Thank you.